Good morning and welcome to Spotlight. I'm Dan Dunn. Today we conclude our conversation with the Executive Director of Lamplighter Ministries, Mark Hamby.
The real worldview is formed by the Word of God. Jesus comes on the scene, and what does he say? Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word. He confirms that. And so I think in Judges chapter 1, it says there's a whole new generation that knew not the Lord, neither the things of the Lord. And so as I read the Scriptures, one of the most important books of the Bible is the book of Ecclesiastes, Kolach in the Hebrew. And he says this, at the very end, he says, I have given you acceptable words, delightful words that are words of truth, given by wise men who have given you these words of truth so that they are goads in life, fastened like nails. Now, Dan, this is the key. Your listeners have to listen to this. I believe that God has given us something significant here. Now, listen to this. Words of truth and words of wisdom are the key to Ecclesiastes. They act as goads. Goads are what keep us in line. They keep us in the right direction. And then he says they need to be fastened like nails. Unless the Word of God literally is fastened like nails in our lives, it's not going to do us any good. It has to be fastened like nails. Our convictions need to get to the point where we live and die for these truths.
Amen.
But here's the key. This is what he says. My son, beware. Anything more than these. More than what? More than words of truth and words of wisdom. Anything more than words of truth and words of wisdom. He says, the making of many books, there is no end. One of my theme verses here at Lamplighter, people hear me quote it all the time. The making of many books, there is no end, and much study is wearisome to the flesh. I've been studying postgraduate work since 1977.
Are you weary?
No, I love what I'm learning. I love printing books. What he's saying there in Ecclesiastes is anything more than words of truth and words of wisdom, anything more than God's words of truth and God's wisdom, the making of many books. There's 1 million books in print per year that have nothing to say about God. The world is filled with knowledge absent from God's truth. Our kids, our families need God's truth so much today that if they will get that, if they will get wisdom, in Proverbs he says, get wisdom. Search for it as treasure. If we will prepare our kids with the words of God, the truth of God, they will be able to soar like the eagle. Right now, we're preparing our kids for college. We need to prepare them for eternity.
If folks want to keep track of what's going on with all these things, how would they go about that? Or if they want to support you in this?
Sure. Well, they can go to lamplighter.net to get a catalog. They can get a free catalog and see all of these, 17th, 18th, 19th century books. And I'm telling you, these books I'll die for. One of the books, The Lamplighter, outsold The Scarlet Letter by 60,000 copies the first month. A book called A Peek Behind the Scenes sold 2.5 million copies in 1987. And a book called That Printer of Udell's was the book that Ronald Reagan said led him to Christ and influenced him to become the President of the United States. And he said it's what influenced his economic policy. It's a book that we print called That Printer of Udell's. So they can go to lamplighter.net. If they're interested in the Guild, which is life-transforming for 16 to 90-year-olds. That's the age span that we have here. It's lamplighterguild.com. So that's lamplighter.net for the books and the audios, lamplighterguild.com for the school, and it's going to take place the end of June. We're going to be back here. We go up to Letchworth State Park. We're here at our campus here, and then we go to a 500-room castle up in the Catskills to finish out the week. It is a week that they will never forget and never be the same.
Sounds great. Mark Hamby, Lamplighter Ministries, thanks for sharing with us, Mark, about what's going on and your passion for this work that God has called you to do.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Spotlight, a public affairs program of the Mars Hill Network. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the Mars Hill Network staff, management, or board of directors. Inquiries and suggestions are welcome. Email spotlight@marshillnetwork.org. or mail to Spotlight in care of the Mars Hill Network, 4044 Mackayes Road. That's Makyes Road, Syracuse, New York, 13215.